Unfortunately, when talk came in, the vulgarians, the money changers of the industry, immediately commenced to cash in by photographing stage plays.
Pure cinema is defined simply as a piece of cinema telling its story organically through its sound and visuals. That may seem like a given in the art of filmmaking, but in today's movies, medium specificity, that is, the distinct materiality of an artistic media, is becoming increasingly more novel and rare. Most movies opt to go the expository route and lazily deliver information from start to finish, mostly through dialogue, often repeating back to the audience what they've already been given visually, giving these films the ability to function just fine as radio plays and podcasts.
It's like a lot of films one sees today. Not that I see very many, but to me they're what I call photographs of people talking, and bears no relation to the art of the cinema.
This approach prioritizes spectacle above all else, making the modern blockbuster experience an emotionally and intellectually passive, incurious, and ultimately unchallenging one. If cinema aestheticizes the human condition, inherent in which is struggle, innumerable challenges, and ambiguities that last a lifetime, then the status quo, despite the fact that it is proven to be absurdly lucrative, is unfortunately uncinematic. That is not to say that cinema is going extinct, not even on a large scale. I mean, Blade Runner 2049 was my favorite film of 2017. Can't wait for Dune, by the way. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood made a blockbuster impact, and that film is perhaps Tarantino's most cinematic piece yet, and there are plenty of other examples, of course. But on a small, independent level, great cinema is everywhere, and that leads me to one of the best cinematic experiences I've had in years, MONOS. MONOS is a 2019 film directed by Alejandro Landes, following a group of child soldiers who have been placed in charge of keeping watch over a hostage in the Colombian wilderness during an unspecified conflict. As hacky as this may sound, MONOS is an experience. To try to sum up in words what makes it so special is to explain the compound anxieties of war, puberty, and all of the ills associated with a Lord of the Flies-esque micro-society. Sure, you can exhaust your scholarly lexicon and throw around plenty of descriptive words, but the fullness of the experiential side of these concepts will be lost, and the same is true of MONOS. But here goes. Starting with the directing, Landes did an incredible job in pretty much every way. Some filmmakers struggle with ensembles, often inadvertently allowing some of their characters to fall by the wayside, but here, everyone is given enough care and attention to feel fully formed and human. That is not to say every character got an equal amount of screen time, or even that they all got some highly dramatic moment to forcefully assert the significance of their character in an obvious way, because they didn't, but each member of this ensemble is given a set of distinct traits and behaviors that make them authentic and memorable. Landes and cinematographer Jasper Wolf also took full advantage of the environment. Shooting in a 2:3:5:1 aspect ratio, they were able to cinematographically juxtapose the bodies of the characters in uncomfortably close and intimate shots, with immaculate wides capturing the immense beauty of the various landscapes, conveying the idea that the minds and changing bodies of the characters are just as much of a battlefield as the beautiful yet oppressive environment. The screenplay, written by Landes and Alexis Dos Santos, is married to the visuals. In fact, this is a Heart of Darkness tale, and as we descend narratively and thematically, which starts with the screenplay, it gets conveyed visually as the landscape changes, moving from the mountaintop down into a jungle and eventually into a river. And when you consider the fact that water flows into said river from the mountain that served as the introductory setting for the characters, the message becomes clear.
The film actually follows those locations in its structure. We start at the mountain, then delve into the jungle, gaining more and more speed and stronger pace, following water. And the film, we were trying to structure it like a river. It meanders, it ebbs and flows, it winds between all these different characters and sort of shaping the film like water.
I don't want to spoil the film, so I'll touch on this briefly, but one of my favorite themes present in MONOS is the theme of identity. The fluidity of identity parallels the fluidity of modern conflict and warfare, and allowing adolescence to be a significant part of that parallel really made it impactful and profound. Paulo Freire once wrote, "While the problem of humanization has always, from an axiological point of view, been humankind's central problem, it now takes on the character of an inescapable concern." End quote. Look, While I doubt Freire influenced this film directly, his idea of the humanization process can serve as a thesis statement for Monos, given whose story this turns out to be, what their identity is, and how it is affirmed in the final moments. Plus, the film is called Monos, which roughly translates to monkeys, and each character is given a nickname, effectively exposing their position in this conflict as a dehumanizing one. Speaking of the conflict, the lack of specificity and context was a great thing. It gives a real immersive quality to the setting, as teens wouldn't understand the geopolitical nuance or the sociological implications of a prolonged war involving trained child soldiers, and given their ages, it would have been impossible for them to fully contextualize a decades-long war in the first place. It also helped the universality of the story. Adding to the atmosphere is the incredibly unique and hypnotic score by Mika Levy, who composed the score for the sci-fi masterpiece Under the Skin. Levy's score comes together with the visuals to produce that perfect cinematic experience that is so difficult to describe. Even here, it highlights the fear, paranoia, power, and powerlessness conveyed in the story. Just fantastic work. Overall, Monos is an achievement and quite simply one of the best films in recent years that flew completely under the radar. It's precisely what happens when function follows the form and medium specificity is allowed to guide every level of a piece of art. There isn't a single aspect of this film that feels cheated or lazy, and its depth, ambiguities, and challenging subject matter will make it impossible to forget. See it immediately, because Monos is pure cinema. Thanks for watching. I'm Lee, and I'm a fake critic.